911. What do you
Wow, everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's time to get real vile. That's right, baby dolls. Tonight, we got a special guest with us. We got the Microbudget, the indie, the mastermind that is Mr. Richard Tanner. But before I get to that, we're going to introduce my co-host for the night, the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris. Yes.
That is the best. People, baby. That's the best introduction anyone has ever given me. Thank you, Germ. I'm doing
no
good.
No problemo, baby. You know how I do. You know how I do. You know how I do. And me, it's your MC, the Mr. G to the E to the R to the M. The T stands for the, but you already knew that because you're a bunch of smart motherfuckers. It's Germ T Ripper, the main ripper behind the motherfucking trigger. All right, let's get this terror train going. Mr. Richard Tanner, baby doll. Can you tell the people at home, can you tell the people listening to Real Vile a little bit about yourself? Would you please, right about this time?
Yeah, man, but I gotta catch my breath. Holy hell, that was an intro.
Holy shit.
Man, no, my name's Richard Tanner. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I am a indie filmmaker. I've got such classics under my belt as Frank and Thug, Once Upon a Nightmare, Earth Girls Are Sleazy. Worked with everyone in the Southeast that I can get my hands on. And pretty much that's what I do. I make sleaze and make smut and put it out there the best I can.
Well, you know, baby, we love sleaze and we love smut and we love exploitation. But I would have to, when you started out, when you first made Room for Rent, that was a found footage movie. It wasn't terribly on the sleazy side. Could you tell me what the process was? Just a skosh. Mr. Ruthless Chris is saying, just a skosh.
A dash. That's a dash of sleaze. Just a little.
It's a pinch. Now, what made you come up with doing your first full-length film, found footage film? Could you give us a little light on that, baby?
So that one's an easy answer to where, you know, I was doing comedy horror because that's what you do when you're micro budget. You don't have the money to make it look good. So you're like, oh, let's just make everyone laugh at least. You know, they're not scared or disgusted. They're laughing. But I got this in my head that I want to make something that could actually be scary. And I have a love for found footage. You know, when Blair Witch came out, of course, I loved it. I was all of 13, 14, thought it was real. Still kind of do, even though I know it's not. But even, you know, beyond that, like I got into all the micro budget ones as a kid, you know, St. Francisville Experiment. And this just seemed like a really good idea. And I had this idea because I actually bought the house that I shot it in and had, you know, you hear those spooky noises in the middle of the night. And I'm like, this is perfect. Let's just do anything we can and try not to be paranormal activity. And that's what I went for. I went, I think it was 2 weeks. I got some people that I'd worked with on some shorts before and got them in on it. And they did awesome. And they really sold it. And then I actually got my first star. I got Aaron Brown, a.k.a. Misty Monday, to come from New Jersey to give me a Southern girl accent better than all my Southern actors. So that was real fun trying to deal with that. And she's become a staple in my life. But that's what got me into it, was trying to make something actually scary that wasn't just me fucking around and throwing blood on my friends, like to see if I could do it. And I think I succeeded. I got a lot of views on YouTube from that one.
I'll tell you what, you did sneak a little comedy in there. The deputy, I laughed pretty good at that. Whoever you got for that, her acting and they're looking at her out the window and she's flashlighting around. I was like, that's mwah. She was great. She had a good Barney Fife energy to her.
That's Aaron Brown, man. That's she's royalty down in these parts. She was in do you remember back in the day there was a movie called Lord of the G-Strings?
I have not seen Lord of the G-Strings, but I'm gonna have to jot that one on down.
Lord of the G-Strings, what was it? Playmate of the Apes, Spider Babe. She was Spider Babe, and then she was in her big release. She was in Lucky McGee's Sick Girl from the Masters of Horror
I
season
have
1.
seen that. Yes.
Yeah, she was the cute girl that wasn't Angela Bassett. Is that her name? Did I get that right?
Yeah, Angela. Not. I don't think it's definitely
No,
not Bassett. It's
no. Oh,
God damn!
hell.
It's not tip of my
Anyway,
tongue.
she's the girl that's not Angela. So
I'm gonna have to look this up now. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I was
yeah,
actually going to ask you about that, Richard. How did you and Misty Monday, aka Aaron Brown, start making films together? Because she's known for all those shot on video Shakorama titles from the late '90s, early 2000s. And she's got kind of a name about her, you know. How did you get in touch with her, and how did she decide to start working with you, baby? Give us a little insight on your relationship with you and Miss Misty Monday.
well, the easy way to say that is, charming face, man. Like everyone wants to work with me.
Ooh la la! You're talking to the right man right there. You know I like that pretty face of yours, baby. That's one of the
At
things that
least he
got me
stays humble.
interested.
It's great. But no, I actually met her at for a different movie called Strip Club Massacre, which, not to throw too much shade, it's one of the shittiest movies you'll ever see. But I had a ton of friends that were in on it. It's just like there's very little massacre, there's very little strip club, and there's very little substance. So the movie's just garbage. But I met a lot of good people from it. I met a group of people that call themselves Wages of Sin, who I work with on everything now. And then, of course, met Aaron Brown, Misty Monday. And she made really good friends with my adopted little sister, who was in Strip Club Massacre. And I was like, oh man, yeah, I know her. I should work with her. I should work with her. And I just talked to her. And she came, she did that room for rent for real cheap for us because she just wanted to come see my little sister, Danielle. And came down and did that. It wasn't even a full day that she was on camera then. She was on for maybe 2 hours. And since then, I've done a lot with her. Every time we'll hook up anytime she's in town or I'm in town, go see a movie or something. And Jed really, been trying to make sure she's doing movies because she's such a good actress, man. Like I've got to be the weirdest dude. Like I've got this, person from all these sleazy films who's known for getting naked. And I don't ever get her naked because I get distracted by her acting. And people probably hate me for it, but no, she's so great, man. I love her like to death. Like she should be much bigger than she is. She is royalty to me in this micro budget scene.
Now I know I'm actually credited as a producer on your latest full-length film, Mother News Presents Once Upon a Nightmare. Now you came to me directly, if I'm not mistaken. There wasn't a crowdfunding thing, right?
So I actually hit up you and another guy because you two. This dude is he owns Gorehound Playground in Colorado. But I hit you two up because both of you had said something about wanting to get more into indie films. So before I even started trying to do crowdfunding, because my crowdfunding is different. I only do crowdfunding after my movie's complete, and it's mainly a pre-order, so I can have money to go get the DVDs. I don't like taking the risk of crowdfunding and say, someone gets hurt, someone dies, someone can't finish the movie, and the movie goes to hell. That's not anyone's fault that crowdfund, so I'm not going to do that to people. I only crowdfund to get the funds to put the DVD out. So I hit you up beforehand to try to get the producer credit. And the shit you watched, the shit that you've talked about, and one of our biggest bonding moments was we both loved that, what was that movie? The Transfiguration. And I was like, I got to hit him up because, like, not many people watch the same sort of movies they're in this. Like, you'll get the big budget, or not the big budget, the indie budget, they're big. You get Terrifier, which I have no bad things to say about it. But that's not the same person that's into The Bunny Game and Scrapbook, August Underground, and then going and seeing all these super straight edge kegger, things that people are like, what? This exists? So that's how come I went to you for it, because you are, you're indie at heart. You do the punk rock, man. Punk rock is indie. Like, I always admire that.
Well, you a connection I think that you might have with Mr. Ruthless Chris here that you might not know about is he runs an independent wrestling business, Ruthless Pro Wrestling, and in your movie Frankenthug, you have Mr. Nathan Hamilton in the film.
Yes.
And I know that he has been an announcer in certain indie wrestling circles. Could you tell me how you and Nathan started working together, baby?
Hell yeah, man. That is a great question because I like where this leads. Nathan did a show back when I first started going to conventions called Son of Celluloid, to where he would interview Fred Vogel. He was this cool kid in Atlanta. And so I admired him. I wanted to be friends with him. So once I started making movies, I was like, hey, who knows Nathan? Who knows Nathan? Bring him here. Bring him here. And me and him just fucking kicked it off, man. One, we both look similar. I look like him with a haircut. So, we already get the brother vibes going. And because of getting to know him, and then another dude that's in my movie as well, the same segment of Mother Noose that he is, John Devlin, they're both into indie wrestling. Nathan is the master of disaster, the voice of destruction. He's out there commentating and doing a great job. And then John is an actual indie wrestler, goes by the name Devlin Valak. And full, corpse makeup out there, 40 years old, getting the shit kicked out of him. I admire him, but it's getting to those points where I'm like, dude, you need to retire because we need you in the movies. But no, the indie wrestling scene, man, that has been crazy getting into it because it is so linked up to horror in general. Like everyone that's there, I will see at a horror convention in a heartbeat. They're all in the indie shows, and it's a very tight knit group. And I kind of feel ashamed that I didn't get into it till a couple of years ago, man. Like wrestling's my life now. I liked it very early on, till I was about 7, and then took this huge break, and now I'm back into it, watching everything I can. And Nathan has a lot to do with that, man, because that dude he preaches the holy gospel of indie.
I'm gonna have to send you some links, man. We're doing some pretty nifty stuff ourselves, man. I got a show on Friday. Got Sakuda coming in from Japan and all kinds of stuff going on. It's gonna be a good time.
Awesome. Whereabouts?
We're doing it in Detroit and Corktown.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, now that you've gotten what was it, 3 full-length films?
Mm-hmm.
Totally directed by you, baby, right? Am I correct in saying that? You got some shorts, you got some good things going on. I want to know what's next. What next do you have on your plate before Mr. Richard Tanner?
This year I got a lot of writing on my plate. Still directing. I've got one long short I'm going to do, another one I'm going to try to be actually scary in. I'm actually going to try to be artsy. That's a little crazy. But I have an idea. I've got the script written for it. The problem is I actually have to spend a lot of money on this one, building sets and shit, which is Microbudget Richard here doesn't spend money on feature leads, man. So the idea of me spending a couple of grand on a 20-minute film is blowing my mind. But you got to do what you got to do, right? I am working with the Wages of Sins dudes. They've got a couple of movies they're doing that they're directing. I'm writing for them. And then, of course, it's micro budget. You do everything. I'll be there holding boom mic at some point. I'll probably be holding a boomstick at some type. Any stick, it just happens when you're at the nice hotels and stuff, right? So, now I got a lot planned. A lot of conventions as well. I don't remember when you said you were posting this, but I know it was before. I know on the 27th, I'll be at Days of the Dead in Atlanta, paying fealty to Lloyd Kaufman and trying to meet a lot of people and sell some movies there.
Do some schmoozing.
Yeah, you got to schmooze, man. That's the only way.
What do you say? You'll be shaking hands and kissing babies. Is that right, baby?
Well, it's Days of the Dead, so it's more like slapping ass and kissing whoever walks by, but
he's not discriminating. He's got to get it out there,
Exactly. I don't care how it happens.
Hey, you never know.
Mr. Ruthless Chris, you got any more questions for Mr. Richard Tanner before we start our round robin of talking about movies and such?
Sure. When I was growing up, I was a video store kid, a lot of VHS. And I actually had a tendency to go to the micro budget films. Like we had a filmmaker out here. I live in Ohio by the name of J.R. Bookwalter. And he was always putting out a bunch of really cool stuff. I was into Robot Ninja and Dead Next Door and Polymorph and all these really weird low budget films, and that was actually like where like I found out about micro budget filmmaking, and like that people could like get an idea, get a like couple friends together, a couple $1,000, you know, a camera, and make something happen. What was maybe some of the micro budgets that maybe you enjoyed growing up that kind of shaped where you went, like your voice with everything?
That's a very good question. So I've met J.R. Bookwalter really recently. I love that man. Didn't realize how much of an impact he had because I was a huge fan of Full Moon Pictures, and with what was that, Tempe Entertainment, he was a subsidiary of Full Moon. So half the shit I was watching that I thought was Charles Band as a kid was him. So I loved his stuff growing up. It was really cool to me. But Charles Band was a huge influence on me. I watched everything that had that little full moon symbol on it, get that video zone at the end of it. So I devoured those. I had a brother-in-law who was really into that type of stuff as well. So we would watch shit like The Boneyard. We would just get anything we could see that looked cheesy. The first real person I got was late in high school, was a dude named oh hell, I can't remember his name right now. He did a movie called Cracker Jacked. He's my friend too. This is the fucked up part. He might actually watch this. I'm not going to remember his name. I know it's Hendricks. I can't remember the first name. Right? Chad Hendricks. There we go. Chad Hendricks made a movie called Cracker Jacked, and this is one of the cheesiest movies you'll ever see. Its the subtitle is White Bread Gone Bad, about a white boy who gets the shit beat out of him when he tries to act black and comes back from the dead to hunt down the people that killed him. And it is this great over-the-top hood entertainment movie. But it was also so cheaply done that I'm sitting there going, I can film this. Guys, we can film this, right? Let's go get a camera, man. You know, back in the day where you actually had to get the VHS tape. But it was that one that really influenced me. And then, of course, you know, everything else, even Full Moon and all that, like that was still too good. I'm like, that's a real movie. I can't do that. But leave it up to Chad, man. That dude showed me the way.
Awesome, man. Yeah, a lot of those micro budgets I got drawn to because they always had great box art.
Oh yeah,
like Microwave Massacre and shit like that. You know, like, and then you end up finding yourself like what, or like Video Violence or something. You end up like watching these like really no budget movies. Like there was one I had called Killing Spree, and they had like no budget whatsoever. Had the wildest looking dude in the lead. And he's just chopping people up and like running them over with lawnmowers. And it looked like it cost $12. And it was a blast. Yeah. And I was like, I need to find more of this. So like, yeah, I'm always interested in like what the people's like grow up was on micro budget and what it led to like where they are now, you know?
Yep. That's a good question, man. I like that question.
I have a couple every once in a while.
Well, it's been really interesting to see how your filmmaking and your art has progressed since I've been down with you since your first full-length film has come out. I love, actually, my favorite full-length from you is Franken-Thug because it's so unhinged. It's so bonkers. I mean, you got a gorilla who is obviously a man in a gorilla suit fighting with Franken-Thug.
That's me.
That's you. Okay, yeah. No wonder that gorilla is so good looking.
There you go.
It's ridiculous, and then it's cheesy, and then you got your latest film, Mother Noose Presents Once Upon a Nightmare, which reminded me a lot of the 1980s film Dead Time Stories. I don't know if you've seen that one or not.
I have. Yep.
So it's definitely a pleasure to have you on here and talking about indie filmmaking, indie wrestling, indie music, all that stuff, because it's all intertwined. We're all doing it ourselves. And I love that about this scene. If you had an unlimited budget, who would you want to be working with creatively, on screen, off screen, whatever? If you could, what would you do? Who would you say that you would be working with?
You know, this is really funny because I just had a Facebook post come up, memory, and it was like 5 people that I would like to work with, just in general. And I remember one of them was Jack Black. which made me laugh looking at that because I can't look. I don't think I could work with him because I laugh no matter what that man does. He just has the key to my funny bone. Lynn Shay was on that, and more so than just Insidious and all that. Like I remember her back from Kingpin when she was, just
Yeah.
I thought Lynn Shay is hilarious. That woman will do anything. I want to work with her.
Have you seen not to interrupt you, but have you seen FDR American Badass?
I have not even heard of this one.
Okay, look into it. She literally shits in a pot in that, and they give FDR polio by getting bit by radioactive werewolves.
Oh, that is beautiful. Yes,
and his wheelchair is the Delano 2000 and has Gatling guns. But anyway, go on.
The funny one on that list, though, I mean, there was a couple other people. I think like Crispin Glover was on it, which is just like that's a no-brainer. But the one that got me was Mark Center. If you remember, did y'all ever see not Repo, Devil's Carnival?
Yes,
the musical. He was the Scorpion in that, and then he was in Starry Eyes. He was in Tales from Halloween. He's been in a ton of things, but I just think he's a phenomenal actor. And somewhere along the line from there, I ended up meeting him and actually talking to him. He was in Lost with Aaron Brown, the Jack Ketchum. That's why I just saw with him, and I talked to him from that. So now I think I might actually
serial killer film.
Yeah, he's the main guy.
You're the only person I've ever met that's seen that.
Oh yeah, man, I love it. Jack Ketchum, Richard Lehman. You get those type of writers, I'm down. So the movie came out, I had to watch it.
That's a disturbing flick. It's good stuff.
No, it was great. It was actually my first time seeing it, but I ended up talking to Mark because of that. So Mark is my next big person I want to work with, even though he's still blowing up. I think he's in a new movie with Stephen Lang called The Old Man, but that doesn't narrow it down because everything Stephen Lang's doing now is old something. It's kind of weird.
No, that one's it's getting a little bit of buzz. That The Old Man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's Lucky McKee's new one, right?
Yeah. Yep. And see, you gotta love Lucky, man. He's the one that gave Aaron a chance. So, look, that's someone I need to work with is Lucky. Like, I need to go meet that guy.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucky's great.
I met him once at a film festival, and he was very much approachable, very fan friendly, and yeah, I would suggest that if you were in the same building with him, talk to him, do that. I would love to see a Richard Tanner, Lucky McKee team up of sorts. I would dig that big time, baby.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, get on top of that.
New goal is trying to let me go find Lucky.
Put that on your vision board.
Yep.
All right. This has been a great interview, great learning experience, getting to know you, baby, getting a little bit more in depth on how you make your films and everything. You know what I'm saying? Because we have a bit of a history. But now I think we're going to get into like what's our favorite micro budget films, like what micro budget, no budget indie films we watch that have really made an impression on us. Okay, we're going to do this like round robin style. You know what I'm talking about, baby? Since you are a special guest, Mr. Richard Tanner, why don't we start off with you? What is a no budget indie micro budget film that you can think of that you want to talk about?
Well, let's start by showing some skin, right? Let's do this.
I like the sound of that.
Yep. Toe Tag Entertainment, man. Toe Tag. August Underground, Fred Vogel. He is a god to me. I've met Fred several times. Love Fred. He's influenced me a lot, but he's also been a really good mentor. But I love the August Undergrounds. My favorite's actually Sella Tersica, which most people don't talk about with his. But, he's into that super realistic, super gory. I like that stuff because it's shit that you don't see anywhere else. Like, I like a good slasher, but these movies, they're so disturbing. You're like, I don't even want people to know I'm watching it. Blow my mind. Billy Pond. I know you got to know Billy. Billy Pond, Circus of the Dead.
One at a time, baby. One at a time. One movie at a time, baby. Ooh, don't be rushing. You don't want to blow your load too quick now.
Oh, Jesus.
What you do?
Mr. Ruthless Chris. Now you've seen these August Underground films. What do you think about these?
It's pretty crazy because I had actually gotten the first August Underground like right when it first came out. I had the clamshell VHS that came with the blood splattered toe tag and all that I had to actually get directly from Fred. And I remember it was one of those things where it was visceral when I first watched it. It was one of those things where I would only show certain friends, you know.
Yep.
My buddy Nate, I could show him whatever. So like Nate would come over and be like, dude, you gotta check this out. This is fucking wild. But like other friends come over, like I can't let them see me watching this, man. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And what was really cool about the August Underground movies, especially the first one, is they do tell a narrative if you watch it. Like you can see their relationship breaking down behind the scenes just by the subtext to like what's going on. So there is actually a strong narrative going on that a lot of people, like when they first see it, don't really pick up on. Like it is a complete film, but it's told disjointedly, you know.
That's funny you say that because I've gotten into debates online with this because a lot of people do look at that movie of just mindless gore, and I'm like, no, I know these kids. Like this era that movie was based in was when I was in high school, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I grew up in a trailer park, man. Like, you're a white boy in a hood, but you're in a trailer park, so you're kind of trashy, and your friends are super trashy. But you know that one dude, you're like, that's the type of dumbass that would get a camera and go shit in the middle of a fucking 7-Eleven, right?
yeah.
So I always thought that movie was brilliant for that. Like the special effects are what sells it, what made it legend. But that story into it, I always thought Fred was kind of a poet when it came to writing these things.
Yeah, because you could see the relationship between the two killers breaking down because in the beginning it was all fun and games. And by the
Yep.
end of it, they're like arguing, they can't stand each other, they're making fucking mistakes, like it just spirals out of control and you can kind of watch it in the subtext.
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, I always loved August Underground movies. I knew some people, my buddy Casey used to date who was at the time known as Krusty Wilds.
No,
Uh Now Christy, who I believe she's very religious now.
that's what I've heard. I've never met
Yeah,
her, but I've heard that.
yeah, because I guess he was still in touch with her for a while, and I guess she's like really religious now. But he used to date her, so that like there was like a weird like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon going on with that the second and third one. But yeah, loved him.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I would suggest them to just anybody that you got to be hardcore to watch those ones.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know that I was at the time when I think it was the second one came out. I was in search of basically anything that was taboo, like the most extreme horror that you could come up with. I wanted to stick it in my eyeballs. And of course, those films you can't just order anywhere. You need to get them directly from the man who makes them, Mr. Fred Vogel. I think it might have been I'm actually sure it was a Day of the Dead horror convention in Chicago when I bought the second one, and I watched it, and it made me a little sick to my stomach, but I couldn't stop talking about it. And of course, when I started talking about it, people wanted to watch it. I had one friend come over and start watching it with me again, and he was just like, "You think this looks real?" I was like, yeah, it looks real enough to me. You know what I mean? I know that it's not, but at the same time, the violence and the gore is so graphic and disturbing and disgusting. I don't think that Fred and the Toe Tag Productions team gets enough credit for making these hardcore violent movies, and like just the sheer brilliance of what he pulled off just through the DIY aesthetic and DIY style. And he keeps going. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's definitely someone to look towards, and he's made some great connection because I know that he's worked with Tom Savini. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, outside the August Underground movies, he is a very skilled director. If you see his movie The Redson Tower, it's like it's a properly done, well-made horror movie. Like you wouldn't even know it was made by the same person. So I also think that he gets pigeonholed by those August Underground movies, but his other movies are just phenomenal. He's just a great director all around. So, he is somebody to check out the full filmography. And so I haven't seen his newest one. I think it's called The Last Interview or
Final Interview. Yeah, that one's
Interview.
real good. Real good.
That's what I've heard. I haven't got to see
Way
that
different.
one, but really?
Yeah, it's almost a straight drama, but
Really?
it's very good to see him spread his wings and fly on that one.
But yeah, see, like, so he's not a one-trick pony. Like, he kind of gets pigeonholed into, and people just think August Underground and they think Fred Vogel, but like, that was only a small part of his career. He hasn't really been making those kind of movies since then. So he's definitely a skilled director to check out his whole filmography.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I was going to give that series a star rating, I would give it a 4, but for personal viewing, maybe, and good friends viewing. For general viewing, maybe a 2, babies. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to go with a 4 for the August Underground trilogy. Now, we're scoring the movies real quickly. You know what I'm saying? If you had to give it a score, what would you give the August Underground trilogy, Mr. Richard Tanner?
Well, I got a tattoo of it, man. I got to go for a 10, or else it's peel it off. So
Well, it's 1 through 5. So you guys say 5?
1 through 5, we'll go for a 5 then. Okay.
I love that. How about you, Mr. Ruthless Chris?
I would say I only recommend it for hardcore horror fans, which if you're listening to this podcast, you are one any fucking way. But it's not one of those things you could just sit down and kind of show anyone that's kind of casual or not hardcore obsessed. If you're a hardcore horror fan, I'd give it 3.5, 4 for the whole trilogy, because I do think that by the time Penance comes around, it gets a little like a little stale, maybe just a little bit, but very good films. I don't know, 3.5, 4.
Sounds good, baby. That's what I like to hear. Now I'm gonna pass the ball to you, Mr. Ruthless Chris. What is a indie micro budget film that you'd like to talk about real quick?
So it's probably one that literally no one's seen. And I just have to talk about it because when I was growing up, like, everyone knew I was the VHS guy, and I always had all the wild movies, and I would watch. Like, I had like a huge collection, like just barrels of VHS, and everyone would always want to see, like, what's the weirdest shit you have, and it was this British movie called Zombie Toxin from 1996. There's 5 people in this whole thing, but there's like 25 characters. It is.
Here's my pen.
It is beyond off the rails bonkers. Everyone turns into zombies by this tainted wine that Hitler makes, which turns everyone into these zombies. It's very British humor. It's very tongue in cheek, and it is absolutely no budget. Like, in one scene, they needed a horse. So you know what the horse was? It was guys in a horse costume, like the kind you would have in a fucking play. They needed a woman. They didn't have a woman. What they do? They kids in the hall. They threw one of them in a fucking wig. It has no budget, nothing. But the thing is that it has so much heart and it's so much fun. Like, you could just tell the fun just oozing through the screen. Like, these guys are like no idea is too stupid. Let's just fucking have fun with this. Throw it all in there. Grab all the outfits we can, all the wigs we can. We're playing everybody, and we're gonna make this dumbass movie. It's only like 68 minutes, and I've never been able to find it past the VHS I used to have, but it was endlessly entertaining. Zombie Toxin, 1996, by hold on, Thomas J. Moose. Who also was one of the 5 stars.
Holy guacamole. That sounds amazing. I love everything you said. Like, all those words sound like things I want to. Do you know if it's streaming anywhere?
You know what? Your best bet would probably be look on YouTube. Like I said, I have not heard anything. No, I've never even heard about this movie aside from the VHS I somehow stumbled upon when I was a young man. And it was one of those things where like I had this buddy Maxwell who was into like really fucked up shit. And like anytime my friends come over, we'd be like, dude, put on Zombie Toxin. And we just start playing it in the background while people are, just having fun doing their thing. And the next thing you know, everyone's just like looking at the screen like, the fuck? The wine bottles fly. They talk at some points. People shit their lives out. There's skeletons running around. Hitler's a character for no reason, not even in the time frame. And it's all played to like very slapstick comedic effect. It's I'm looking at see if it's on YouTube. Looking
I'm
it up.
doing the same damn thing right now. Full movie, 18 videos. There it is.
You found it?
Yep, it's on there. Oh no, never mind. That's a haunted house. Oh no, zombie toxin. There's another one. I don't know. We'll have to see. There's like 12 different things. We'll see what it is.
Yeah, I'm seeing toxic zombies, but not zombie toxin.
Because that sounds like everything. I'm down for that completely.
I'm going to turn this into my mission to track this down now.
Hell yes.
We started talking micro budget, and I haven't probably even thought about this movie in like 10 years. But
I would have to agree. Like everything about that sounds like something I want to jam into my eyeballs. It sounds like early Peter Jackson. You know what I mean? Like Bad Taste, Dead Alive style.
Bad Taste look like Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, la, la.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but endlessly entertaining. It's one of those ones that's also 1,000 miles an hour. Like like a kid with ADHD, and all the ideas are just like. Yeah,
that's the way to do an indie film, though, because you don't have any other saving grace. Like your actors aren't good; it doesn't look good. So throw a gorilla in,
by in the heart.
3/4 the way through the movie. Do something stupid. Show one scene over and over again. Add boobs for no reason, even if they're fake.
Yeah. What you got, Germ?
Oh, baby.
If I would give it a rating, I'd give it 4.5 because it's so stupid. It's great.
Is it like we got to track this down? And if they haven't put it, if somebody hasn't put this out, I don't know. I'm gonna have to start a petition to get it put out because I need it. I like it better when somebody puts it out for me. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna find a copy. I'm gonna make it my mission.
All right, I like where it's going. All right, well, Mr. Richard Tanner, you started to squeeze out this turd, and I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna eat some fiber and get it all out there for the people to hear about. If you have not seen this movie that I'm about to talk about, do yourself a favor, do yourself a flavor even, and get on Circus of the Dead. Yes,
Tastes
sir.
like slut.
What'd you say, Mr. Richard Tanner?
Tastes like slut.
Tastes like slut indeed. That is one of the key lines. The head of this traveling circus of killer clowns, and they're not killer clowns from outer space. No, this ain't silly like that. This is kind of filthy, kind of raunchy, kind of unsettling at times, but also has a very John Waters campiness about it. I remember before the movie came out, I saw the trailer on YouTube. I became obsessed with it. And, I contacted Billy Pond directly and I said, I want to review this movie. I want to do everything I can to see this movie, I loved everything about it because there's so many killer clown movies now. But I feel like when it came out, it was on the precipice. It was on the edge, the plateau of that killer clown, psycho clown, slasher clown movement. Would I be right in saying that, you think, Mr. Richard Tanner?
I think so, because the big one that you can compare it to now is Terrifier with Art the Clown, which is upsetting to me because so many people know that guy. And no offense to David Thornton Howard, whatever, but damn it, Bill O'Brest as Papa Corn, that's the killer clown, man.
I would have to agree. He is disgusting and he's dirty, but he is funny. And that whole crew of killer clowns, because it's like a troop of clowns, and all of them have their own identity, which I think is brilliant. There's Jumbo, who was a midget clown. There was Noodle Dome, who was a big heavyset clown, which I would like very much. And there's Mr. Blister, who is the smoking cigarettes clown, and then you've even got the guy you got a mime juggling chainsaws that pops out of the trunk. But it's somewhere, but it's very Herschel Gordon Lewis. It's very John Waters. It's whenever I hear somebody talk ill of this movie, I want to slap them in the face. I'm so passionate about Circus of the Dead. Billy Pond, bloody Billy Pond, he has been nothing but a peach. He is a good looking man. And I said some nice words about the movie, and he has sent me some merch over the years, and I will continue to say nice things about that movie until he makes a Circus of the Dead 2, because Circus of the Dead came out in 2014. That's like 7 years ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? And the inspiration that, because I also feel like Circus of the Dead sort of kicked that door open for a lot of indie filmmakers to get their things seen. You know what I mean? There was kind of a flood after that. And I really appreciate that. But like I said earlier, Circus of the Dead is one of my favorite killer clown movies. And because it is funny, it is gritty, and it is silly all at the same time. Yeah, I'd give it a 4.5. Now you've seen it. Can you talk about like how it influenced you, maybe, or how Billy Pond's filmmaking has influenced your filmmaking? Anything along that lines? Tell us about your friendship, your kinship to it. You know what I'm saying?
So Billy's my brother, man. Billy, as much as I talk about Fred being a mentor, Billy's the one that hand on my shoulder going, do this, check this out, check this. The very first convention I ever did, Billy was at the table next to me and Tony Todd was on the other side. And never has shit been that crazy for me again, to where I'm like, here's the guy that's made the best indie film in years, plus the Candyman, who's terrifying me the entire time because that's a big man. But yeah, no, me and Billy became really good friends. Still talk to him all the time. But that movie influenced me because, one, as good as it is, as good as the story, as good as the characters, there is a lot of production value in it. I mean, like, there's a damn circus. There's a circus tent. This man just had a circus tent. The effects are good, but it's also entertaining. And that's a very short commodity in indie film, is a lot of these movies are not entertaining. A lot of these movies you watch once and never watch again. You're just like, shit, did you see that movie? That was crazy. You can have it. I'm not putting it back in because it was awful. But no, his movie has this rewatchability. I've watched it several times. Anytime there's a party, I'm like, guys, let's watch Circus of the Dead. So I've always strived to be like that. And then his outside of the movie world, like just his networking and you said the merchandise. Man, he made soda for that shit. I might have a bottle somewhere over here. All the different ways he's got it out. I think I have that movie on 5 different platforms. Like, I think I know I have it on Apple. I've got it on Vudu. I have a DVD, 2 Blu-rays. So he just keeps working just to make sure everyone's going to be able to see that. And I like that hustle.
Yeah, he has a strong hustle factor, that is for sure. Ruthless Chris, have you seen Circus of the Dead?
I have not.
All right, well, you got to change that because it's everywhere. It's available everywhere. And if you want to watch a killer clown movie, this is a killer clown movie that I highly recommend, baby.
If you like Lost, if you like The Lost, you'll like this one, man.
It's been in my queue for a while. I think it's on Hulu. I believe it's on one of them.
Probably
it's
on Hulu,
my queue, but I get just ADD looking for movies on there, so I'll make sure to give it a watch.
All right, baby. So yeah, I give it a 4.5. How about you, Richard Tanner? If you were gonna give it a score, what would you score Circus of the Dead at, baby?
I'd give it a 4.5 as well. It's wonderful. There's a couple of technical gripes you can have about it, but that's low budget for you, man. It's low budget.
All right, and with that, I'm gonna pass the ball back over to you. What's the next low budget, no budget, indie micro budget film that you want to talk about, Mr. Richard Tanner?
Next one I'd like to talk about. I'm going to keep it in the Southeast just to keep you guys on your toes. There's a little collective down in Florida called the Sleaze Box. And they've done a lot of movies, but one of my favorite has been Chaos AD. That one is awesome. It's the same guys that did Descort Service and all that. But Chaos AD is this trippy-ass movie it's gift wrap for the indie fan, to where, I mean, it's gritty, it's dirty. There's just a bunch of strippers in it, killing each other, killing everyone. Any guy just gets what he deserves in it. It's all over the top. It's not so much like it doesn't focus on the narrative. It gets a little experimental, but it still has that entertainment value. I love these guys, man. They churn out movies once every 2 or 3 months and never stop working. And just they work with everyone. Like there's one dude, this dude, he's got to be 80 years old, Bob Glazier. Have y'all heard of this guy?
Well, I have actually seen this movie and I reviewed it for Daily Grindhouse, so I'm familiar with it. Now, is he the guy with the large dick? Is he the guy with the large?
We got to talk about Bob's dick, dude. I have seen that old man's dick more than I've seen my own dick. Okay, that dude hangs dong everywhere, and it's ridiculously long, especially for his age.
I mean, to be fair, if I was packing heat like that, I'd be hanging dong all the time too. You know, you got to let it air out.
Hell yeah. But he's like 80-year-old in these movies, man. He's an old man, but great actor, will do some fucked up shit. I love Bob, man.
Yeah, that is a filthy fucking movie. Chaos AD. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it takes place on Halloween, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because I have it in my letterbox, my list of movies that take place on Halloween. Yeah, it's filthy, it's gross, it is a sleazebox original, and I think it's the only sleazebox movie I've actually seen to completion. But like you said, it is, if you like an indie spirit, that is all the spirit and the heart and the spunk that any movie can handle. And yeah, I would recommend it. Sort of like the toe tag movies, not the toe tag movies, but the August Underground films, the Circus of the Dead, everything we've been talking about. Really, this is probably more for the hardcore gore hound, more for the hardcore underground. If you're listening to this is probably you anyway, because it's real vile, baby. All right. Yeah, I would give this film a 3, probably. How about you, Mr. Richard Tanner? What you say?
I would give it probably a 3.5, but I will say you did just blow my mind because I forget sometimes that I'm too into the hardcore shit. I forget that this isn't mainstream, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. I don't think I would let random people watch this shit, but 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5.
That's legit, baby. How about you, Mr. Ruthless Chris? Have you seen Chaos AD?
I have not, but I looked it up while you guys were talking about it. It's got a hell of a cover.
Yes. It is. Everything about it is filthy, baby. Everything is filthy, filthy, filthy. Ooh la la, c'est la vie. All right, so that's Chaos AD. Mr. Ruthless Chris, what's up next for you, baby?
All right, so when I was younger, I got into this guy. He made a series of movies about a weird detective that he named Harry Knuckles. There's a guy that goes by Lee DeMarbre. He made like Harry Knuckles and the Curse of the Pearl Necklace, things like that. But he came out with this one-off that starred the guy who played Harry Knuckles, a gentleman by the name of Phil Caracas. Called Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. Are you guys familiar with this?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I've seen that movie.
Yes. Okay. So check out the Harry Knuckles movies, and apparently he's got a movie coming out this year that is going to be called Enter the Dragon. So that looks pretty interesting. But Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter is Jesus come to Earth in modern times, and he starts out in the robe, and with the hair and all that. But within a few minutes, he chops the hair off, gets some gauges, gets real normal looking.
Yeah,
he teams up with a sidekick, a Mexican wrestler, El Santos, to quell the lesbian vampire insurrection. It is a semi-musical. There is a great dirt bike fight scene with a bunch of lesbian vampires in a junkyard that is quite wonderful to see. So yeah, Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, 2001, Lee DeMarbre. Love this shit.
I have not thought of that in so many years. I want to say I got that from Netflix when they used to mail you the disc.
Oh yeah,
that's when I would just look for like, oh, this looks like the worst movie ever. Let's grab this. So that ended up in the mail, and I watched it. And only thing I really remember, he was a skateboarder, right? Jesus was skateboarding like most of the movie.
Yeah,
If
he
I
would skateboard and he would do kung fu, and he had great one-liners. Like after he'd beat you up, he'd like hit his chest and be like, "Body of Christ," like shit like that. Yeah, it
Oh
was
my
real good.
god! And that dude's still making movies. That's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. Oh my god! I have to look that up.
Yeah, outside of the Harry Knuckles movie, I didn't know he was still making movies. So, as I was talking about, I pulled up. He's made 10 movies. So,
Oh wow!
yeah, the only bigger budget one I've seen was Smash Cut, which was the one with Sasha Grey, the porn star, in it. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't seen
Jesus
that.
Christ, Vampire Hunter, 4 all day, good stuff.
That is a remarkable, because like Richard said, I haven't thought about that movie in probably decades, like literally decades, tens of years. But yeah, that was definitely a fun one to watch. I think I watched it on VHS, and I could not turn away from, like, what is going to happen next in this wackadoodle film. Doodle. Yeah, it is so much fun. If somebody does not put this movie out on a collector's edition Blu-ray soon, I think I'm gonna have to stomp on the Pope's head. But but yeah, you said 4.
Yeah,
What'd you
four,
say? 4.
four.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with another 3. I'm not gonna stomp on the Pope's head. Don't worry about it, Ruthless Chris. I don't know where the Pope lives.
I'm pretty sure he just died, bro.
Well, there's always another one. There's always another
Also,
Pope.
live in the Vatican, man. That's the easy answer.
I just like that we're ending talking about Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter with you threatening to stomp on the dead Pope's head.
Stomping,
This
stomping on
this
the
show's
dead
living up to
Pope's
its
head.
fucking name right now.
Stomping, stomping on the dead Pope's head. Yeah. And on that note, uh, it's my turn again. Back around to moi. Well, talking about low budget, talking about no budget. The next film is a sleazy slasher film directed by a female director, which is rare to see such a disturbing piece of cinema made by a female director. But it is 2016's She Was So Pretty. Now, if you look this up anywhere, it will tell you it was made for $0. And when you watch it, you got to watch it as an indie film fan. And I would say, to me at least, if you are familiar with Andy Warhol's films, they're kind of artsy, they're kind of like damaged. It's very it's very sort of amateurish and artsy, but it's as if Andy Warhol made a sleazy slasher film. And I think that Brooklyn Ewing, she really sort of put her name, she really put her trademark out there with this film in 2016. She was definitely part of that splat pack that came out in the mid 2000s. There was there was Billy Pond, and there was Brooklyn Ewing, bringing this sleazy type of indie cinema and kicking down doors and making things that people weren't looking at, people weren't thinking about, but creating characters like the slasher in this movie. You see guys like this with the greasy long hair and the googly eyes and the thrift store threads, but you don't really think much of him. But turns out he's the one messing up all the girls and slashing their throats. But it's got that Dogma 95 style to it too. It makes me think of Harmony Korine and Julian Donkey Boy. So if you like sort of like an artistic, maybe not even purposely artistic, slant to a slasher film, I gotta highly recommend She Was So Pretty by Brooklyn Ewing. I think it's available. I actually know it's available through Tubi, because if you go to their female directed horror section, they actually have a section like that. It's well featured in there. So yes, I give that movie a 4. Have either of you seen She Is So Pretty?
I have. I have. It's first off, man, Splat Pack is the best thing ever. Please go write that. Put me in it because I do remember the first film festival I was ever at. Brooklyn was there, and she was playing too. So that was like, that was our freshman class. We all had our movies there that first year. So that's really cool. I do like being compared to that, and I love that phrase, and we'll pretend like it's been used forever now. I did like it. It almost annoys me now because of how many indie films go into a Christmas pattern with the creepy guy and that one, I think it was the sequel that did all the Christmas stuff. But still, that was my only annoyance with it. I do know that the creepy dude, the slasher himself, was her boyfriend or husband. I don't remember which. And they were just
in real life. In real life, yeah. That's Brooklyn's, significant other.
Looking at them together because Brooklyn's all about 5 foot, and that dude's like 6'3" and just greasy, and just he looks like that in real life. Like he's just very tired looking, and she's so bubbly and bright and super blonde. It is great juxtaposition on that. And then they did do something that I always thought was really cool, and I actually still do this to the day. They had something called the anti-bootleg edition, to where they had a DVD-R of the movie in a sleeve, and it just said, "She is so pretty." And they're like, $5, just please don't bootleg our movie. And we're giving these out for $5. And I'm like, man, that's brilliant, because some people just want to see it. They don't want to spend the $20 that an indie person has to, put on the price tag. And I've never forgotten that. I thought that was one of the best ways to get on top of something like, bootlegs.
And then awesome. Having her significant other, Jerry LaRue, walking around film festivals as his character, and like bumping into people and like starting conversations or non-conversations. Because I know in the first film he doesn't talk at all. You just either handing out or like making it seem like you're going to buy this movie for $5. Because that's how I met him. Is he handed me a VHS copy of it in a big clamshell, which I don't have a VCR, but I keep it as like decorative purposes. But yeah, she's so pretty. I give it a 4. If you were going to give it Mr. Ruthless Chris, did you say you've seen this or no?
No,
all right, you got to get on that, baby.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Richard Tanner, if you had to give it a score, what would you give the first She Was So Pretty by Brooklyn Ewing, starring Jerry LaRue?
Mine's a little lower than yours. I would go with the 3 on that one, but still solid. It was solid for our first flick for her.
Absolutely, baby. Okay, well, with that, what you got? One more film you got to talk about. Come on, bring it, Mr. Richard Tanner. What film would you talk about? Micro budget, mini budget, no budget, indie film, baby.
So another movie that came out the same. It was either the year before or the year I did mine, and it's so much better than anything I've ever done. Pieces of Talent by Joe Stauffer was that, starring Christy Ray. This is the most beautiful movie. Like, we're talking about the no budgets and everything. This movie puts us all to shame. It's very low budget, but it's all about a man who wants to be a filmmaker and falls in love with this very beautiful woman. But the man's completely fucking crazy and basically is just getting rid of any problem in her life, the easy way. And he films it all, and he's trying to make this beautiful love letter to her, but it's filled with all these bloody people and all these killings that he's doing for her that she's never asked for. But it's also this very good movie that's you're following this girl, and it's just very, very poetic with it. I keep using that word because I can't think of anything better, but I absolutely love that movie. Great soundtrack, some of the best camera work I've ever seen. Like, fuck just indie movies, best camera work I've ever seen. And then Christy Ray, she's amazing. Love that girl. That's another 5 for me. Like, I have a poster in the other room of that signed.
What's the name of this again?
Pieces of Talent.
Pieces of Talent. All right, baby. Do you know if it's streaming anywhere?
I don't know. I'm shocked you haven't heard of this one. It was very, very big. It's probably on Tubi, if I had to imagine, because everything's on Tubi in the indie world anymore.
On Tubi.
Except for my shit. I haven't put it on Tubi yet, but yeah, everyone else is. I'll look it up. I'll find out where it's at.
Well, now I know the name is super familiar, and I feel like I might have watched it sometime when I was intoxicated. I'm glad I don't drink anymore because now I can actually remember the films I watch. But yeah, I gotta look that up because I recently remembered I googled the best indie no budget films, and that was on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pieces of Talent. Have you seen this one, Mr. Ruthless Chris?
I have not, and I just looked it up. It is only streaming on Amazon. You got to buy it.
Worth it.
Boo.
Also,
Totally worth
great
it.
cover.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully somebody will either make this streamable somewhere or they'll put out a physical copy, a collector's edition Blu-ray, because all the nice things you said about this, Mr. Richard Tanner, it sounds like something I want to shove in my eyeball holes.
Yeah. And then I think he does have a Blu-ray out. Problem is, I don't know if it's still current. It may be out of print. If it's out of print, that movie's going for high dollar because it is one of the best micro budget films you've ever seen. Like it deserves all the praise it gets.
Well, baby, you know I like the sound of that. I gotta look it up, gotta check it out, do all those things. Uh Mr. Ruthless Chris, what you got for us? One last thing to finish off this round robin of micro budget, indie budget. You know what I'm saying, baby.
This one you guys might have seen. I really love this movie. I found out about it last year. The director only made one film, and it really bums me out because I would have loved to see where they went from this. This is The Millennium Bug, 2011, by Kenneth Cran. You guys seen this?
Have not.
Oh,
Sounds
I
super
cannot
familiar.
okay, it's on Tubi. I cannot recommend this enough. Just from the first frame, you know you're in for a good time because the film company he made for himself was No CGI films, and it's all practical effects, and everything is done on this sound stage, so it makes it like it gives it a really weird feel because like, even the woods and everything is fake, like it's just like fake trees they made and all this. But basically, you got a family. It's New Year's Eve when the Y2K is supposed to hit, so they go camping in the woods just in case something goes down for the New Year's. Then it escalates into almost a Texas chainsaw situation, and then it gets even crazier when a kaiju gets involved.
It's amazing.
I'm telling you, like full, like Godzilla size giant bug. They're ripping up these guys made fake cities for him to rip up Godzilla style. It's ripping through these fake woods and everything is done on these weird sound stages. It makes for this really strange film, and it's no budget, but you can tell they put like their fucking heart and soul into making this thing. It's the most entertaining goddamn film I came across in a while. At the first iteration of this, before Germ was on, I raved about this movie too. But the Millennium Bug, definitely check this thing out. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I even like tried to find a Blu-ray of it. I even reached out to the director at one point trying to see if we can get him on. He's like, dude, I don't want to talk about movies. I don't fucking do movies anymore. That was the worst experience of my life. But I'm like, dude, the movie was so fun. What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, it was a nightmare. I'm like, okay, never mind.
That's funny.
So yeah, Millennium Bug, Kenneth Cran, 2011, on Tubi. Watch it.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to go check out that one not once, but maybe twice, baby. You know what I'm saying?
You would love it, Germ. You would fucking love it.
From everything you said, it sounds like it's right up my alley. Ooh la la, c'est la vie. But I got one more from me, if you know what I'm talking about. Talking about that splat pack from the mid 2010s. I'm gonna go with Halloween themed. I think I might have even talked about it once before when we were leading up to spooky season. It's by Mr. Justin Seaman, and it is The Barn. I mean, you both have seen this. I'm sure of it because we're talking about hustle with Billy Pond. We're talking about merchandising, man. Justin did some incredible merchandising and some incredible hustling with The Barn. I mean, there are board games, there are computer games, there was the vinyl soundtrack, the vinyl pins, everything you can think of. And not to mention all the merchandising, it's a great movie. If you love that 80s slasher, but not even just slasher, just like the mythology they have built up around it is so smart and so cool. It's got that cool throwback, you know, and he was able to fit all the nostalgia into this film without making it what I like to call nostalgia porn, because it's not Stranger Things. It is not the new It movies. It is its own thing. It's got nostalgia, but it's not like banging you over the head with it. And I love that. And then so if you haven't seen this movie, it's about some rock and rollers. There are some teenagers. They're taking a van trip. They think that it's a prank, so they're knocking on this door. It's like an urban legend from the town they live in. They're knocking on the barn, and they raise some demons, and the demons raise hell. It's an amazing film. You know, Linnea Quigley, is she in this one? I know she's in the sequel. She's in this one. Harry Lehman. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a star-studded affair, baby. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I can't recommend The Barn enough. I'm pretty sure it's streaming on Tubi as well.
Yes, it is.
And I give it a hard 4.
I like The Barn a lot. It was a very fun. It was a clever script, you know, like where he was able to like contain it, so like he can maximize his effects and all that. Definitely like The Barn a lot. I would give it 4 as well.
I would agree. I love The Barn. I think it's great. I love most things that Justin does with that Scream Team releasing. I was actually in talks with him once when Frankenthug was first coming out, but I screwed myself because I knew nothing about distribution. Someone else owns that movie, so fuck those people. But Justin's a great guy. I love that movie. It's a 4. I don't think I've seen the sequel yet, though.
I didn't know there was one.
I was one of the backers for that one, so I'm not sure if it was a pre-release or whatever, but I got the Blu-ray, you know, signed by the stars and all that jazz. But the first one's definitely better. The second one has a lot more going on in it. So if you get a chance when the second one is put out to the public, check it out, babies, because you know. I can't say enough good things about Mr. Justin Seaman, you know, and I think that goes along with everybody that we've mentioned, you know, yourself, Richard Tanner, Billy Pond, Brooklyn Ewing. They're all these creative people that are making sleazy exploitation, diabolical horror films that any horror fan is going to enjoy watching. You know what I'm saying? So, this has been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun having Mr. Richard Tanner on. How about you, Ruthless Chris? Have you been having some fun talking to Mr. Richard Tanner?
Always a blast, man. It was good meeting you, Mr. Tanner.
Hey, same here, guys. I loved it.
I'm sending you some wrestling links.
Movies. Oh, please do. Please do. Yeah, talking about movies, man. It's always fun.
Before we wrap up this episode of Real Vile, anybody else, any of you guys got something you want to talk about, like what you got coming up soon?
By the time this comes out, the show will already have happened. So no, not really. We'll be back next week. We're doing Possession. Kelly will be back next week. She was a little under weather for this one, so she wasn't with us this week, but we'll be back with Possession next week.
Awesome. I from when this one comes out, I have Days of the Dead Atlanta happening. I got a booth with Wages of Sin and John Devlin. So we'll be selling Mother Noose. We'll be selling Room for Rent, Frankenthug. And then John's got his first DVD with some shorts that I helped with, Erecting a Monster, which is great. It's about a monster dick. It's amazing. And if I'm not at that booth, you'll find me over at the Trauma booth trying to suck up or suck down Lloyd Kaufman. Anyway, just to get, part of that. So we'll see what happens.
I think suck down might be the way to go with Lloyd.
Hey, man, it seems like the winner.
I'll read. All right. Okay. I like it. I love it. Give me more of it. We had a lot of fun this evening, but I think it's about time to sign off. I'm going to say, keep it creepy, keep it spooky. God bless America, and send nudes. Ooh. Hey, all you cats and kittens, all you ladies and lady killers out there in real Vile land. This is your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, saying keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. And don't forget,
like, subscribe, and share all our content. Ow!